Yeah, hi there, and these comments are to one of my online students at the 7-step system to pass the TOEFL IBT, and I am Michael Buckoff, and I am the founder, owner, and the materials writer of this online TOEFL course, and over here we have what you wrote. And this is an integrated writing practice test on socialism, right? Okay, you say the reading passage defines the definition of socialism from 3 ways, but the lecture disagrees with it. And I don't know if you're getting exactly that. It does, in the first paragraph, define socialism, but if you go on, it talks about the benefits of socialism in each of these paragraphs. So I would change this to say, so the reading passage explains the benefits of socialism. You might say, okay. Now let's take a look at the length of what you've written here. I think we need to develop your ideas just a little bit more. Yeah, see, we're at 164 words here, so we have socialism allows for more justice by transferring the rights and responsibilities from individuals and families to the state. So you say the reading passage claims that socialism has more justice because everyone has sufficient food and money. We might say here, this justice occurs you might say individuals you might say to the state here, that's pretty much all you can say here. Then you say the lecture disagrees . Okay, let's go back to what we have here. You have a first idea, it may in the process actually create injustice. Or if you said something like claiming that so socialism fosters . So the lecturer disagrees, claiming that socialism So the lecturer, claiming that socialism fosters injustice, disagrees with this assertion. Okay, let's see what it says here. The freedom to decide all matters that lie within our own competence and follow the course shown by our own reason. You might say, even though everyone has sufficient food and money, I think we have it. So we have, even though everyone has sufficient food and money, the freedom to provide those necessities is taken away from the individuals and families. You might say, okay, so we developed the paragraph just a little bit more. I just wanted to show you what you can do there. So let's take a look at it one more time. So firstly, the reading passage claims that socialism has more justice because everyone has sufficient food and money. This justice occurs because individuals and families relinquish these rights to the state. The lecturer, claiming that socialism fosters injustice, disagrees with this assertion. Even though everyone has sufficient food and money, the freedom to provide those necessities is taken away from the individuals and families. Therefore, according to the speaker, socialism destroys true liberty. All right, so let's go to our next paragraph. We have, secondly, the reading passage states that socialism promotes absolute equality. And because it already uses promote, how about encourage? Encourages. The reading passage states that socialism encourages absolute equality. So we have, how about this? Let's create a little bit more advanced grammar here. So how about by? You ever use gerund phrases? By imposing higher taxes on the wealthy, and in turn I think that's pretty good. So I think that your second paragraph is very strong. So we have the reading passage states that socialism encourages absolute equality by imposing higher taxes on the wealthy, and in turn using these taxes to fund programs and social services for the most disadvantaged. So you're using the same word. How about if you want to use a synonym here for the poor? So you have, however, the professor uses the example to explain socialism is not equality. If the company belongs to the employees, the company shouldn't pay the hourly wages to employees. This is where you're having trouble right here. Let's look at what it says in the lecture. We have, it promotes equality in the most radical sense. That's kind of a key. For example, employers such as Apple, Ford, Toyota, to name a few, are quickly portrayed as exploiters whose profits belong to their employees. As a result, true socialists rule out the system of wage earning, which is used by non-socialists to pay hourly wages rather than a fixed salary. These views are, in my opinion, radical attempts at trying to equalize everyone. So they're saying that they force people to get fixed salaries instead of hourly wages. That this type of equality is extreme. I'm using extreme instead of using radical. So we'll have this type of equality is extreme because it marks companies as. Notice how here I'm saying that these employers are portrayed as exploiters whose profits really belong to the employees. It marks companies taking advantage of their employees. Forces these companies to pay a fixed salary rather than hourly pay, as is often the case with non-socialist companies. Okay, let's look at it one more time. However, the professor claims that this type of equality is extreme because it marks companies as taking advantage of their employees, and it forces these companies to pay a fixed salary rather than an hourly pay, as is often the case with non-socialist companies. These are so these methods of pay I'm going to use efforts here, are radical efforts to mandate equality in the workforce. This is where your vocabulary comes in. The only way you can really accurately paraphrase is to use different vocabulary. I think this is an area that you can make some improvements in. So my first recommendation is for you, focus a lot right now on vocabulary lesson number 3, vocabulary lesson number 4, vocabulary lesson number 5, and number 6. Those lessons will help you improve your vocabulary to about 1,700 college level words, and then you'll find that you're a little bit better as you paraphrase other people's ideas. Okay, so I helped clarify some of the points that you're making about the lecture here, right? And that's why I said what I said. However, the professor claims that this type of equality is extreme because it marks companies as taking advantage of their employees, and it forces these companies to pay a fixed salary rather than an hourly pay, as is often the case with non-socialist companies. These methods of pay, according to the speaker, are radical efforts to mandate equality in the workforce. So this, what I did is to try to re-explain this idea, not using exactly the same words there. All right, let's go to the last paragraph. You have, finally, socialism promotes relativism because there are no absolute truths or revealed morals. It's too similar. What you're doing here, even though you put this idea in here, if you look at what you wrote, it is very similar to the original, which is considered plagiarism. Okay, so we have to so the reading passage relativism in the sense that exact, I'm going to say exact instead of absolute. There are no exact So we have the reading passage asserts that socialism encourages relativism in the sense that there are no exact right and wrong ways of behaving in a society. For example, you might say something like that. I think we have it, right? So we have the reading passage asserts that socialism encourages relativism in the sense that there are no exact right and wrong ways of behaving in a society. For example, according to the reading passage, marriage is defined differently from one individual to the next. The definition of marriage maybe put a semicolon here. Hence, the definition of marriage should not be limited to a man and a woman. So again, what I'm trying to do is to paraphrase the information in the reading passage. So your paraphrase is really plagiarism. It's too close to the original source. Okay, let's go to the listening passage now. You have in contrast, the lecturer disagrees with that. Although the professor respects the idea, the social negative attitude about marriage explains why the opposed traditional marriage supports gay marriage. Let's look at what it says here. It's saying that with respect to the idea that socialism promotes relativism and therefore rejects religion, goes counterculture to what many Christians, Buddhists, Jews, and Muslims believe. Then we have, you have here in socialist sense, the idea that there is a God who is infinite and all-powerful clashes with their idea of absolute equality. In addition, according to them, everything evolves, including what is right and wrong and good and evil. Therefore, there is no place for the Ten Commandments, the Bible, or other holy scriptures from other religions which try to dictate the rules by which all women and men should abide. The socialist negative attitude toward marriage explains why they oppose traditional marriage and support gay marriage. To them, there is no right and wrong to being gay. Consequently, marriage should not be defined as being between a man and a woman. So we know all of that, right? But here's the key. It says, I think that these relativistic ideas will lead to the destruction of religion, the family, and eventually our society. And you're not saying that. maybe lead to the demise. Demise is the same as destruction. Okay, so I think we have moved in the right direction. So what I'm doing is I'm taking your essay and rewriting it, showing you how to get a perfect score on the integrated section of the TOEFL IBT exam. Okay, remember you had 164 words? I'm showing you how you can develop your ideas a little bit more. So now, instead of 160, we're at 286, so we've said a little bit more information. The main thing with a summary is you don't want to leave out important information, right? Okay, so you say, find where the reading passage asserts that socialism encourages relativism in the sense that there are no exact right and wrong ways of behaving in society. For example, according to the reading passage, marriage is defined differently from one individual to the next. Hence, the definition of marriage should not be limited to a man and a woman. How about this? Maybe being not limited to being between a man and woman. In contrast, the lecture claims that relativism, which is promoted by socialism, goes against many of the beliefs from religions all over the world. In fact, the speaker in the lecture claims that relativism will eventually lead to the demise of religion, families, and society. And then I think we have it. All right, let's take a look at it one more time. So we have the reading passage explains the benefits of socialism, and the lecture casts doubt in each of these points. Firstly, the reading passage claims that socialism has more justice because everyone has sufficient food and money. This justice occurs because individuals and families relinquish these rights to the state. The lecture, claiming that socialism fosters injustice, disagrees with this assertion. Even though everyone has sufficient food and money, the freedom to provide those necessities is taken away from the individuals and families. Therefore, according to the speaker, socialism destroys true liberty. All right, let's keep going. Secondly, the reading passage states that socialism encourages absolute equality by imposing higher taxes on the wealthy and in turn using these taxes to fund programs and social services for the poor. However, the professor claims that this type of equality is extreme because it marks companies as taking advantage of their employees, and it forces these companies to pay a fixed salary rather than an hourly pay, as is often the case with non-socialist companies. These methods of pay, according to the speaker, are radical efforts to mandate equality in the workplace. Finally, the reading passage asserts that socialism encourages relativism in the sense that there are no exact right and wrong ways of behaving in a society. For example, according to the reading passage, marriage is defined differently from one individual to the next. Hence, the definition of marriage should not be limited to being between a man and a woman. In contrast, the lecturer claims that relativism, which is promoted by socialism, goes against many of the beliefs from religions all over the world. In fact, the The speaker in the lecture claims that relativism will eventually lead to the demise or destruction of religion, families, and society. To sum up, the ideas in the lecture about socialism clearly oppose its advantages, all of which are suggested by the author in the reading passage. All right, so in this one the question is, what is your score according to the rubrics here? And I will include these rubrics in the email I'm sending you. You're not going to score in the 5 range. You're not going to score in the 4 range. The 3, probably not. So let's look in the 2. So, maybe you're a little bit better than that. So I'm going to put you at 3. So you have an incomplete, inaccurate, or imprecise connection of the ideas in the lecture to the ideas in the reading passage. Here, you remember that 3rd point where it talks about the lecture disagrees with the last idea, saying that this relativism can cause the destruction of society, and you didn't say anything about that. So I think that was an important point that you missed and you did not mention. So I think that's why I'm going to put you at 3.0 out of 5, or 20 points out of 30. So if you have any questions, what you need to do, how do you make the essay better, just watch the video. I went through and I error corrected, I added some information, I reorganized some of what you had written to show you how you can get a score. And the way that I wrote it, you will now score here 5.5 out of 5, or 30 points out of 30. That would be the score on what you see here. You see that? So the edited version of what you wrote gets a perfect score, or we'll say 30 points out of 30. So for you, I think it's partly a vocabulary issue. Is when you're trying to paraphrase other people's ideas, you have some vocabulary and grammar limitations that prevent you from being able to really paraphrase the information. That's why you're kind of writing exactly word for word what was said in the reading passage. So once your vocabulary gets better, then you have more language choices and you will be able to use more synonyms, kind of like what I did here. So I think that you definitely want to work more in the vocabulary part of the course. Now my next question is, what is your score? What grade will you get on this, right? Okay, so if we go in here, integrated writing, remember, I gave you 3.0, right? So I think overall you have a pretty good understanding of what you've read for the most part, but I'm going to put you at 3.0. That puts you at 76% out of 100 on this assignment. All right? So thank you for completing this integrated writing practice test. It is my opinion you need more practice. So any day, whenever you want, you can complete an integrated writing practice test. If you do one, send me a quick email, tell me which practice test that you completed, and I will give it to my TA who will score it in a timely manner. If I were you, I would do maybe 4 or 5 integrated writing practice tests before the final exam. I think that's going to be important for you. So you can continue to work on your reading, on your listening, your note-taking, and then you can work on your vocabulary. And as you're doing it, be careful that you're not using too much of the exact vocabulary and the exact grammar from the reading or listening passages.